Monday, August 27, 1990, East Troy, Wisconsin. Shortly after 12:15 a.m., the exhilarated musicians left the stage through a rear exit. Vaughan, 35, had planned to make the 2-hour drive back to his Chicago hotel with his brother and sister-in-law, Connie, but at the last minute he chose to board a Bell 260 Jet Ranger, one of 4 helicopters waiting nearby. According to his New York City publicist, Charles Kummer, Vaughan had learned from Clapton's manager that there were seats enough to accommodate all 3 in his party. When he found only one place was actually available, Vaughan said to Connie and Jimmy, "Do you mind if I take the seat? I really need to get back." The helicopter took off in fog around 12:40 a.m. with Vaughan and 4 others aboard. Sweet Chicago would never be reached. Moments later the chopper's remains lay spread across more than 200 feet of a man-made ski slope in a field dotted with bittersweet and Queen Anne's lace. All on board were killed instantly in what National Transportation Safety Board investigator William Bruce later described as a high-energy, high-velocity impact at a shallow angle. Read the official accident report. Fans leaving the noisy concert site did not hear the crash, which occurred on the far side of the nearby hill. In fact, a search for the lost copter wasn't begun until 5 a.m., more than 4 hours later, after an orbiting search and rescue satellite picked up the craft's emergency locator transmitter signal. At 7 a.m. searchers found the bodies of Vaughan, Bobby Brooks, Clapton's Hollywood agent, pilot Jeff Brown, who may have been unfamiliar with the hilly site's tricky takeoff procedures, Clapton's assistant tour manager, Colin Smythe, and Clapton's bodyguard, Nigel Brown. Later that morning Clapton and Jimmy Vaughan were summoned by the Walworth County coroner to identify the bodies. Monday, August 27, 1990, Austin. The first flash comes over the Associated Press wire at about 7 a.m. Copter crash in East Troy, Wisconsin. 5 fatalities, including a musician. Keen eyes at the Austin American-Statesman newsroom catch that item and begin putting 2 and 2 together. Every half hour, Associated Press updates with details. The mysterious musician becomes a member of Eric Clapton's entourage and then a guitarist. By 9:30 rumors spread that Stevie Ray Vaughan, Austin's favorite son, was aboard the doomed craft. At 11:30, Clapton's manager confirms the worst. Stevie Ray Vaughan was indeed among the passengers in the 5-seat helicopter that slammed into a fog-shrouded hillside near southeastern Wisconsin's Alpine Valley Ski Resort. He had just concluded a show-closing all-star jam on Robert Johnson's Sweet Home Chicago with Eric Clapton, Robert Cray, brother Jimmy Vaughan and Chicago blues legend Buddy Guy before an ecstatic crowd of 25,000. The last performance for Bell 260B Jet Ranger helicopters awaited the artists and their respective entourages following the jam. Because of the logistical traffic nightmare at Alpine Valley, only one 2-lane road leads from the venue, resulting in gridlock delays of an hour or more. The major acts usually depart via helicopter. The caravan of blues stars left Alpine Valley at 2-minute intervals. The first, second and fourth copters landed without incident at Chicago's Meigs Field. The third, bearing members of Clapton's entourage and Stevie Ray, never made it. Poor visibility due to dense fog is prominent among factors blamed for the disaster. The Austin American-Statesman later reported that, according to Federal Aviation Administration records, the copter's pilot, Jeffrey William Brown, had 2 previous helicopter accidents. By noon, a shock wave reverberates through the capital city of Texas. It's the most devastating news to hit the Lone Star State's music community since Buddy Holly, along with Ritchie Valens and the Big Bopper, went down in a plane 31 years ago. People walk about tearfully, dazed and disoriented. Friends call friends who call friends. I found myself calling people I hadn't talked to in 15 years, says Austin singer-songwriter Natalie Z. Everyone was reaching out and trying to make connections with people who knew how important Stevie was to them. I mean, he was our homeboy. The entire town is in mourning. By 5 p.m. merchants post signs and hoist banners proclaiming "We love you Stevie," and "So long Stevie," outside their stores. Even the Holiday Inn replaces the cheery welcome conventioneers, adorning its marquee with a somber SRV R.I.P. Plumbing stores, Tex-Mex restaurants, musical instrument stores, donut shops, all fly the flag of grief. The signs of mourning are all pervasive in this central Texas town where little Stevie Vaughan, the skinny kid from Oak Cliff, became Stevie Ray Vaughan, hometown hero and Austin's musical ambassador to the world. Fans begin converging on Zilker Park, where mourners gathered for a candlelight vigil on the night John Lennon was murdered. Now, 10 years later, they sit side by side in the darkness, with 3.000 points of light flickering in a sea of sorrow. Tatted Chicago bikers sit next to lawyers in Brooks Brothers suits, who sit next to New Agers who spread crystals on blankets and meditate in silence. Fans clutching pictures of SRV construct shrines to the fallen guitar hero. Young gunslingers tote their struts, Buddhists chant Nam Orange Kyo, and old friends weep openly, as DJ Jody Denberg of Austin's KLBJ pumps a steady diet of SRV through a makeshift PA out to the crowd. The sound of Stevie Ray's stinging strut pierces the night air and goes directly to the hearts of these huddled blues fans, offering some kind of solace in the face of utter despair. It's depressing and spiritually healing at the same time, says one bereaved SRV fan, clutching a copy of Texas Flood that the guitarist had autographed some years earlier. While the throng of mourners continues to grow at Zilker Park, others instinctively head to Antone's, the club that served as a focal point for the Austin blues scene throughout the mid-70s, and was a favorite hangout of the Vaughan brothers over the years. Some SRV fans have driven from as far as Oklahoma just to be there. Others come on foot from their dorms on the campus of Texas University, listening to Paul Ray's Blue Monday tribute on 2, as they walk. One fan fondly recalls the night back in 1978, when Stevie Ray went toe-to-toe on stage at Antone's with Otis Rush, the great left-handed bluesman who wrote the tune that SRV named his band after. A mourner recalls the night he saw little Stevie play with Albert King back in 1975. A younger fan relates in still awed tones his excitement over witnessing a jam in 1987 that saw Stevie Ray and Jimmy joined by U2's The Edge and Bone. Local TV stations begin converging on the club by 9 p.m. They are looking for emotional testimony from SRV intimates, and they get plenty when Clifford Antone, the club's owner and close friend to both Vaughan brothers, breaks down on camera. "I met Stevie when I was 22 and he was 17, he sobs. The kid could always play. I mean, he could play as good then as he does now. People like that, it's just born in him, you know. He was little Stevie back then, just a kid. He'd hang out and play and make you laugh. It was a very simple thing. It had nothing to do with the record business, or TV or movies or any of that shit. Him, me, Jimmy, Denny Freeman, Doyle Brandhall, we were all just a bunch of kids drawn together by our love of the blues, you know. And even in recent years, when I'd see him, I'd say, 'How ya doin', kid?' I mean, he was my friend, just this little guy who played guitar. The rest is the world's trip, you know." It is somehow appropriate that W.C. Clark is booked this night at Antone's. A black bluesman from East Austin, W.C. played with Stevie Ray and singer Lou Ann Barton in the late 70s band Triple Threat Review. Last year, the three were reunited for a special Austin City Limits program that celebrated W.C.'s 50th birthday. "I'm dumbfounded," says Clark, appearing quite shaken. "He was an easygoing person, really lovable. I felt like a benefactor to him.